Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert covering Target. Target is getting sued, and this is the most serious lawsuit I've ever seen against the company for diversity, equity, and inclusion, LGBT, inappropriate illegal behavior inside of the company. Target's being hit with fraud charges by the state of Florida and America First Legal. The fraud charges are about misleading investors, which there really seems to be significant evidence for that Target themselves knew that doing their big LGBT Pride Month promotion was going to damage their relationship with their customers and essentially tank their sales, as one insider said. That also would have the clear effect of damaging their stock price and making them pay a very high price for pushing a social agenda. What makes this so significant is that the state of Florida is a very powerful entity. As a company, you don't want the state of Florida coming after you for violating securities laws, and that's what this lawsuit is about. At the same time, America First Legal has been pretty effective with holding Target to account in another lawsuit, and America First Legal is part of this lawsuit. In addition to that, the country's mood for taking DEI and LGBT and social political movements and trying to push them through government and through companies at the expense of customers and shareholders has never been worse against doing that kind of inappropriate thing, abusing your customer and your business relationships. And if all of that wasn't enough, Stephen Miller, who created America First Legal exactly to push back on all of this, works directly with the president in the White House right now. And the Department of Justice has a time-sensitive agenda to create a list of companies to go after through the Department of Justice who've been using political ideologies like DEI and pushing LGBT agendas inside the company, discriminating against employees. And that priority for the Department of Justice is coming at a time where the current administration has a tremendous amount of momentum. The timing could not be worse for Target to get in trouble for all of this, and now they're going to get it. And don't get me wrong, they absolutely deserve it. And the executives who were responsible for doing all of this at Target are being accused in this lawsuit of personally profiting off of what they did. From America First Legal and Florida Attorney General filed class action lawsuit against Target for misleading and defrauding investors over market risks of LGBT activism. They actually did know the risks. That's what the evidence in the lawsuit shows. It's really inexcusable behavior. And from fake news CNN, Target is getting hit from all sides on DEI. Because yes, Target's getting in a lot of trouble now for what they did, but they're also getting some pushback from organizations that, let's just face it, their boycotts have no impact. The left, some black organizations as well, okay, because of DEI, because Target has said they're going to roll back their DEI. None of that's really going to add up to anything. And if it was just about those organizations, I wouldn't have done this story, because it's getting some media attention, but it's not going anywhere. This lawsuit against Target is going somewhere. And we'll get into the specific lawsuit and cite some of the things they mention. It's over 150 pages, but there's some things we can cover. From America First Legal and Florida Attorney General filed class action lawsuit against Target. America First Legal and the Florida Attorney General have filed a massive class action lawsuit against Target Corporation on behalf of the State Board of Administration of Florida. The lawsuit, filed in the U.S. District Court for the Middle District of Florida, alleges Target knowingly misled and defrauded investors by concealing the financial risks of its radical LGBT activism, costing shareholders tens of billions of dollars. It's not just a bad choice that Target made. It's not just a one-sided choice that Target made. They knew what the risk was. They decided, we know this is going to happen. We don't really care. We're going to do this at the expense of our customer base and, importantly, the shareholders. And that's why Florida is suing. Because Florida shareholders, Florida pensions got damaged as a result of this really reckless, irresponsible behavior. And also self-enriching behavior. At least that's what it says in the lawsuit. That people actually pocketed money from doing this. The lawsuit alleges that Target violated Sections 10B and 14A of the Securities Exchange Act of 1934 by failing to disclose known risks of customer backlash to its diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives and environmental, social, and governance mandates, which culminated in its radical and extreme 2023 Pride campaign. It further alleges that Target actively misled investors by claiming to monitor the social and political risks posed by its DEI and ESG mandates. But in reality, Target was only monitoring its alignment with left wing activist groups. So they were monitoring the response to DEI and ESG with their customers. Absolutely, they were, but not the risks that they posed. They weren't tracking how it was hurting the business. They were only tracking how they were pleasing left wing activist groups. The fallout from Target's unlawful conduct was swift and catastrophic. Following the launch of Target's 2023 Pride campaign, Target's stock price plummeted, wiping out $10 billion in market value in just 10 days, and erasing $25 billion in shareholder value over the course of 6 months, its worst performance and longest losing streak in 23 years. This is the second lawsuit brought by America First Legal against Target for securities fraud. In the first case, filed in August of 2023, that case remains ongoing after a federal judge denied Target's motion to dismiss the case in December 2024, ruling that the company may have violated federal securities laws. And it does go to show you that these cases do take a while, because from August to 2023 to December to 2024 to deal with a motion to dismiss shows you they're still very early in that first case. A motion to dismiss is something that would come up early in the life of a case, not like in the middle of a case, because if you're not going to keep the case going, there's no need to do anything else on the case, you just get rid of it. But they're not getting rid of that first lawsuit. That's a terrible sign for Target, but a great sign for the people that are suing them. With this new lawsuit, America First Legal, the Florida Attorney General, and the State Board of Administration of Florida are taking decisive action to hold Target accountable for violating federal law, defrauding its investors, and prioritizing radical activism over financial responsibility to shareholders. In business and life, a lot of times, timing is everything. The timing for Target right now could not be worse. From the lawsuit in the United States District Court and Middle District of Florida, it's the State Board of Administration versus Target. They're also naming multiple Target executives, including the CEO of Target, who definitely had a huge part in this ridiculous promotion they decided to do. Target Corporation, the self-proclaimed store of the boomer mom who drives a minivan and lives in the suburbs, and its board of directors betrayed both Target's core customer base of working families and its investors by making false and misleading statements about Target's ESG and DEI mandates that led to its disastrous 2023 Children and Family-themed LGBT Pride campaign, also known as the 2023 LGBT Pride campaign. Target's campaign was exceptionally offensive to Target customers for obvious and apparent reasons. Target marketed the campaign at families and children and sold highly inappropriate merchandise such as transgender tuck-friendly women's swimsuits with extra crotch coverage sold in XX small sizes. The campaign provoked immense consumer backlash with boycotts that caused Target sales to fall for the first time in 6 years and wiped out over $25 billion in Target's market capitalization, that's the value of all their stock, leading Target stock to experience its longest losing streak in 23 years. Target CEO Brian Cornell and its board of directors did not oversee or disclose the obvious risks of Target's 2023 LGBT Pride campaign and the ESG DEI initiatives which it's advanced, but they told investors that they did. In doing so, they deceived Target investors as to the true nature of the risks of their investments and caused them to unknowingly support Target's board and management in their misuse of investor funds to serve its divisive political and social goals, and ultimately cost investors billions. It's one thing to do something crazy with the company or to take a big risk with the company. If you're going to do that, at the very least, you do have to notify investors. That's why in some company filings you see a going concern statement, for example. A going concern statement is a great example because that would say, look, the company has some kinds of problems or have these bad financial ratios. It's possible we may not be able to consider continuing in business as a going concern. That's not Target's problem. It's just an example of a company actually warning its shareholders, look, we could be a risky business. The chances of that business going out of business are very small, but if there's any chance that a company could have that kind of a problem, they are supposed to warn about that in their filings so that investors, when they put money into the company, are aware of that risk. Sometimes people make a lot of money risking money on very risky companies that might go out of business, that then all of a sudden turn themselves around. Something good happens. But investors need to have the information. If you don't give the information, it really is misleading investors. Target's CEO and current and former members of Target's board of directors violated sections of the Exchange Act as well as rules in the Exchange Act by making or causing Target to issue misleading statements to investors. Target's 2021 and 2022 annual reports misleadingly omitted that Target was subject to the risk of consumer boycotts because of its ESG and DEI initiatives like the 2023 LGBT Pride campaign. Target's 2022 and 2023 proxy statements falsely and misleadingly stated that Target's board and its committees oversaw social and political issues and risks arising from Target's pursuit of ESG and DEI mandates. Target CEO Brian Cornell misleadingly downplayed the scope of consumer boycotts after they began. Target's board of directors and management consistently invoked stakeholders to justify ESG and DEI mandates that the board and Target's management were also personally interested in. For one component of those ESG and DEI mandates, LGBT activism, Target was at the beck and call of pro-LGBT stakeholder organizations like the Human Rights Campaign and GLAAD. Even Target's focus on its guests, also known as customers, was skewed by management to serve stakeholder interests in ESG and DEI initiatives rather than legitimate guest preferences. In Target's 2022 and 2023 annual statements, the board assured the plaintiff and other investors that it was monitoring for social and political risks created by the ESG DEI mandates that the board and Target management had imposed on the company. In reality, the board, both itself and through the applicable board committees, only monitored risks it perceived from failing to achieve its self-imposed ESG and DEI mandates. These risks were definitely not social or political risks of ESG and DEI mandates, neither according to Target's definition, nor by how a reasonable investor would understand the phrase's meaning, but instead were risks driven by Target and a select group of nonprofit organization stakeholders that Target worked with to adopt these very ESG and DEI mandates. And the people suing Target have a confidential witness. The confidential witness previously held a senior marketing position at Target. They oversaw marketing efforts for a large region of Target stores. The confidential witness did not leave Target's employment until after the 2023 LGBT Pride campaign. The witness provided information regarding Target's planning and implementation process for the 2023 LGBT Pride campaign and Target's response to the consumer backlash after the campaign began. In addition to this lawsuit, there are some very significant lawsuits against Disney as well as Paramount. For Disney, it's Disney deciding they don't want to work with certain people because of their political views. And Disney is claiming that they have the right to decide what kind of people they want working for them strictly because they're a creative organization. And if they don't want to work with certain people with certain beliefs, they're entitled to because they have a First Amendment right to discriminate against any employees or people they might work with. In the case of Paramount, it's similar. They decided they don't want to hire certain writers to work on certain projects for them because those people don't have the view that they want. Specifically, it's a white person instead of a black person who has shown that they're very capable, but won't get a full-time writing position with Paramount, even though it's not like a cultural specific type of project. It's not like a project where it's a black family or something like that. It's for a military show. This Target lawsuit is also very significant because, man, they are backed into a corner here, and there's evidence that shows they did directly mislead and lie to their shareholders, at least in my opinion. We'll see what the judge has to say. We'll see what the jury has to say. But in a strong indication of things to come, Target is already supposedly talking about settling the first lawsuit brought by America First Legal on exactly the same kind of claims. And that was without the benefit of having the state of Florida involved, Stephen Miller actually in the White House, the DOJ looking for companies like Target to go after to make examples out of their terrible behavior, and without having one of the wins from Target in the way of a settlement already decided to leverage that benefit. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another story. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.